Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to whoever's in the world. You are streaming here on, why won't this work? On Twitter, I think. As well as those of you in the spillover room on YouTube. How we doing? Friday night, Memorial Day weekend here in the United States. I appreciate you taking the time to join us today if you're out on vacation or they don't celebrate Memorial Day everywhere in the world. So I imagine all of you or some of you interested discussing what just transpired in San Antonio tonight. Game 3 goes to the champs. 2-1 now, series lead, home court advantage regained. All right. Where to begin with that one? So there's a couple of major topics that need to be discussed here. The first of which is Oklahoma City is turning this series into a war of attrition. And this is not the first time. It won't be the last. And if you're an opponent of the Oklahoma City Thunder, that is not something that you should ever willingly participate in, considering the depth that they have runs laps around every other team in the NBA. Even the Knicks, even the Spurs. Oklahoma City has hockey shifts of guys that can seamlessly replace an all-NBA all-star like J-Dub, Jalen Williams, and they just go about their business. This has always been one of their biggest advantages, the depth and the versatility of their roster. And that was on full display tonight as they record a 76-point performance from their bench. That is a franchise high, including the Seattle Sonics days, led by none other than Jared McCain. Gets up 20-plus shots tonight. I don't know what the final figure was, but if this team ends up winning a championship this year, everyone should be pointing the finger of blame at Philadelphia. Now, what Philadelphia told us was that they got off McCain. Unfortunately, like I'm very close with Daryl personally, and he's a great dude. And I mean, a great dude. But I remember that press conference where he uttered the words, "We think we're selling high," when the McCain trade was made to Oklahoma City. The intention of that was to not only get under the luxury tax, but to free up a roster spot for Dominic Barlow so that they can have him be a full-time player, not a two-way guy, and can provide that like swingman type of versatility on defense that they so desperately needed. It made a lot of sense on paper, but did you have to give him to Oklahoma City? Did you have to give him to Oklahoma City? Yeah, and Philly ultimately chose Quentin Grimes over Jared McCain. And the biggest problem there, obviously, is Quentin Grimes, after what he just went through this offseason, not getting a contract extension and just being on this one-year deal. We'll figure the rest out later. Jared McCain is on his rookie deal. His rookie extension's not going to kick in for another year or two, and then that's going to run through the 2030s. So you have now given a championship team the ammunition to become a budding dynasty with a player that only magnifies, complements, and supplements what they already do well. And that was at a championship level. And you see that tonight as Oklahoma City is able to stretch that San Antonio point of attack perimeter defense, which is elite, by the way, elite. But when you have a Jared McCain who's running around relocating as if he's Ray Allen and Klay Thompson, I'm talking about sideline to sideline, baseline to baseline, never standing still, always finding the open space so that he's ready to shoot. And when that ball touches his fingertips, it's already on the way up even before he catches it. Basketball has now evolved that spacing and shooting are prioritized on offense. And to just give these guys Jared McCain for a couple of draft picks and whatnot is going to be the deal that we look back on if this becomes a dynasty. This is going to be a guy when Lou Dort probably leaves next year, because look at this series. Has Lou Dort, other than that play with De'Aaron Fox, had any sort of influence or impact on this series, even defensively? No, he's being left open on offense. He's going to be pretty much gone. Not that McCain steps in and replaces what Lou Dort does well. They are different players, but Lou Dort is very expendable. And when you just give a team that is already rich with assets, young talent, a competitive practice gym where everyone's trying to earn minutes, chemistry, and culture, you added the most perfect guy. This team was throwing towels on Nick Gallo's head all last year during the championship run, during those post-game interviews. Like they're young, they're kind of like Snapchatty and corny and TikToky. That's their thing. God bless them. And there's no one that fits in better, all smiley and dancing around and giving you buckets and running down the court like this, like he's Jack Sparrow and Pirates of the Caribbean. Just goofing around out there, burying your franchise. It's infuriating. Don't tell me he's not a perfect fit, like attitude-wise and basketball-wise as well. That trade may have just secured the dynasty for Oklahoma City if they win another championship, because Lord knows it's going to be years before this war machine assembly line of basketball that has every station covered, 3 deep with employees. And I can tell this is hitting people hard because this room isn't nearly as chatty. There's not nearly as many people in it when OKC wins. Half the amount of people are in here right now than after a closer game or bigger topics. That's because I know most of San Antonio realized what they just witnessed tonight. If game 1 was A New Hope, game 2 was Empire Strikes Back, this most certainly was not the Return of the Jedi, unless you consider that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And that wouldn't make sense, considering A New Hope was Luke Skywalker. But yeah, awfully quiet now. Awfully quiet when San Antonio shoots 17 free throws in the third quarter. There may have been, honestly, I counted 17 up to the 3-minute mark. There may have been free throws after that. So you can't even blame this one on the refs. You can't blame this one on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander flopping around. Steph Castle running straight into his landing space on that 3-pointer. Obvious foul. Does he fall over? Of course. He falls over a lot, but that's also because he has the ball in his hands as much, if not more, than everyone else. Yes, there were the flopper chants, but do not let those 1 or 2 possessions where he attempted to embellish speak for his performance in totality, because tonight he was an absolute maestro out there. And how he is assuming the responsibilities of being a floor general and a table setter almost before being the primary scorer. That he's willing and able to do both was evident tonight. He had some gravity about him, and he scored just enough that he walked that perfect balance that we have been, or Cavs fans have been demanding, requesting, pleading from James Harden. Why is it that the scale is always so tipped to one side versus the other? Because you either, as the table setter, you either have to score, you have to create for others. Shai found that perfect mix tonight. Speaking of Lou Dort, I don't want to hear it. I think I saw one comment at the beginning. I'm proud of the chat. You know your audience. You know where I was going to go with this. I also tweeted about it too. That is, people, the most basic loose ball on the floor. They're both going for it. Lou Dort dives forward. De'Aaron Fox goes for it too. Lou Dort doesn't have eyes in the back of his head. And his momentum, while going for the basketball, makes contact with De'Aaron Fox, who rolls the right ankle. And that had to be so painful, considering they showed the footage of him warming up before game 2. And you could see his mouth. And he said, man, it hurts to jump. If you roll your ankle to the inside like that, I would have screamed. And he had to come out of the game. That is not even close to being dirty. And there's no way De'Aaron Fox, when he sees the replay, will ever think that was a dirty play. Guys, basketball is a contact sport. This is the playoffs. And the only reason why you even thought about it is because of what it says on the back of the jersey, as if majority of those plays were dirty themselves. I could argue otherwise, but it's just because it's Lou Dort. You just automatically assume that was a dirty play. I wish I could cleanse the mind of everyone in those comments when talking about when that happened. So utterly brainwashed that if you ever see that guy on your screen, you're just automatically triggered because you've already made up your mind because of his reputation and the inability to break down or analyze anything that he does objectively is a microcosm of society today. God damn you people. Not it's the people that are guilty of that, not the people watching this stream. All right. What else? The 3/4 fronting of Victor Wembanyama worked tonight. 2 of 7 at one point. I need a box score. I need a box score. Give me a second. I haven't looked at the box score. I went straight live. Victor Wembanyama, 8 of 15 from the floor. Was it a 2 of 7 start, I think? 8 of 15. I'm going to get to Luke Cornett in just a second. So Jared McCain finishes 10 of 21 from the field. He left that type of impact on this game, going 2 of 10 from beyond the arc. 2 of 10. AJ Mitchell got banged up too, by the way. I don't think he returned. But look how many guys deep OKC went until garbage time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 guys deep rotation without J-Dub and practically without AJ Mitchell. Oh, Jay Will. 5 of 6 from beyond the arc. 5 of 6 for Jay Will tonight. There were a couple of moments there in that first half where Chet Holmgren, I was starting to look up housing prices in the city of Milwaukee. Lacking of influence, not making an impact, being negated by Victor Wembanyama offensively. Couldn't even get a rebound because Wemby was always there to turn it into a 50-50 ball. He does finish 5 of 7 from the floor. But, man, it has been a struggle. Look at the starting 5 for Oklahoma City. Without the Hartenstein floaters, the put shots tonight, he only goes 2 of 4. He was out with an injury too, returns. Where do you find offense if AJ Mitchell's banged up? They go to Alex Caruso, who is once again being strategically left open by the San Antonio Spurs, the same way that they're leaving open Steph Castle, the same way that the Cleveland Cavaliers are leaving open Josh Hart. Alex Caruso goes 3 of 5 from beyond the arc. Some big-time shots to stymie or stifle. Is it stymie or stifle? The San Antonio Spurs comeback. I mean, this guy has been a part of some of the biggest games. He plays this role everywhere he goes. He is Western Conference Josh Hart, or Josh Hart is Eastern Conference Alex Caruso. They have so much in common. What they contribute defensively, how he's able to play off of his assignment, help, disrupt, and then still recover. That is an underrated skill in today's game. Because if you're going to leave your man to help, you better make sure you can close out without it being reckless, a foul, or they just put the ball and go right by you. Caruso can jump those passing lanes, still get back, and he moves like a free safety on the defensive side of the ball. Finishing at the rim. He brings that hard hat, shovel, lunch pail mindset, blue collar basketball, getting into it with Steph Castle. Good hard playoff foul, Steph. Go make your free throws. Guess what he did? He missed the first. It was a great foul. I thought that was an unnecessary review, but I understand that if there's a flagrant fall, not a flagrant foul, but a flagrant fall, they're going to go to the monitor. The referees made a point in that third quarter, which took almost an hour of real time, by the way. an hour of real time because the San Antonio Spurs were shooting near 20 free throws. But more importantly, the referees were trying to get control of that game. No more of this Tony Brothers physicality that we saw in game 2. That should have been a guarantee. I don't know why I didn't bang me over in this game, because it made all the sense in the world with a new officiating crew coming in. Tonight, Mark Davis, Courtney Kirkland, I forgot who the third referee was. We're not going to let this turn into prison ball. No blood, no foul. Physicality was micromanaged in that third quarter, but they don't want more guys getting hurt. They want everyone available for a potential 7-game series. The NBA ratings came out with the first 2 games, the highest rated Western Conference games like ever or since the certain era began. Talking about a 10.1 average, tracking online with the NBA Finals. They need as many players available as possible. And to prevent there from being a brawl, to prevent them from, you get the point. But it's just so funny to me how quiet the chat gets when OKC flexes their muscles. After game 1 with Victor Wembanyama ascending to being the best player in the world, right? Clamoring. Everyone wants to engage in contact and discuss what we just witnessed with the shot. Of course, that was one of the greatest playoff games we had seen. Everyone goes silent when the champs flex their muscles the way that they did tonight. They weather that storm going down 15-0, where Antonio was texting me and he said he couldn't even scream into his daughter's ear sitting next to him because it was so loud in there. 15-0. And there's no more appropriate movie analogy than Lieutenant Dan sitting in Forrest Gump at the top of the bird's nest on the boat, daring God to strike him down. You call this a storm? I think OKC hasn't been through something like that before. Boy, did they weather it and flip it on its head almost instantly. Good point. BZ in the chat says chat's quiet because they have no excuses to hide behind. And now you have to actually talk ball because they are not blowing the whistle or providing you with the content necessary for you to push your agenda and narrative. The amount of low basketball IQ discourse that has surrounded this series has contributed it to being one of the biggest or most toxic series that Antonio and I have seen in quite some time. Because you see something on the internet of a compilation of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander falling over. You see one play from Isaiah Joe. I know some of you are sitting here watching this too and you're quiet. I know what the play you're about to bring up. Isaiah Joe flailing, flopping, and embellishing as Harrison Barnes is standing at the free throw line. And then he practically gets knocked over by his shadow. That's the shit we're talking about, Wob. Well, what about the 10 other times that it happened? But NBC did not provide us with a slow motion replay. It happened to both San Antonio and it happened to Oklahoma City. Do you know how many times on basic pin down screens on the other side of the floor, someone is trying to draw contact and go like this so they get an offensive foul called? That shit happens all the time. But because the broadcast is pandering to people's lust and needing that never ending desire to, what's the opposite of quench your thirst? Feed the machine. Give me more OKC flopping content so it justifies and validates my point of view that has been incorrect since the first day. There is a stat for everything in the NBA, even a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander falling over stat. But you know what that stat did not include? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's usage percentage compared to everyone else. How many times he's on the ball, how many times he dribbles the ball up, how many times all we saw was falling over per shot attempt, not per drive, all this other context, per shot attempt. And that is designed to make Shai not only look bad, but to add validity to all of your accusations. This is the world we live in 2026. Because when jobs are on the line to draw viewers, to get clicks and drive engagement, And I'm not, don't hear what I'm not saying. I am not putting myself in a spot to be a hypocrite on this. I spend half of my Twitter time trolling and rage baiting because I like the taste of it. I enjoy it. There's nothing fun than pissing morons off for the last 12 years. Wait, I've been on since 2009, the last 17 years of my life. Nothing pleases me more than when I'm watching a basketball game. But for people that are actually publishing that content on league affiliated or associated networks, does the product an injustice. Where are you going to go now? If you watch this game tonight, you hate OKC. If you hate Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because he flops, what are you saying after tonight's game? He's still a flopper because San Antonio's crowd chanted it. They all think he's a flopper, so I'm going to join the echo chamber. This shit is ridiculous. Talk to me about how Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is able to create space without it being an offensive foul. What I mean by that is he's the lord, the master of the counter. He's the master of getting downhill, using the forearm without extending it so the referees don't have justification for blowing the whistle on a push-off. He did it once tonight when he got away with it. Just once. It was the one on Steph Castle that forced Steph Castle to have to close out too far, resulting in a foul, and he barrels into him. That one he got away with. He also knows how to get downhill with his left hand. He drops the right shoulder so that he can create the space to step back and get to the little mid-range pull-up, whatever you want to call it. The defender, the on-ball assignment usually goes flying, and he's like, that was a push-off. That was a push-off. They are embellishing themselves. But sometimes they're not. Sometimes they get launched, but it is not in the rule book as that's an offensive foul. The one time that Shai got the whistle blown on him was against the Detroit Pistons in that regular season game where everyone was stunned that they brought the whistle out when he hit that shot. That was essentially the end of the MVP. Like, that went in. If they would have won the game from that, MVP would have been decided unanimously on the spot. This is over. But no, there was just enough extension of the arm. If you go past that 45-degree angle of the extension, the referees will undoubtedly bring out the whistle and blow it. But Shai has learned to keep that chicken wing attached to his chest. He gives just enough with the speed. He stops, and it's just so fucking difficult to guard. But it's not an offensive foul. And you got to stop barreling into him. You didn't even see Steph Castle argue with the closeout three. He was all up in his landing space. Reggie Miller's like, that's an obvious foul. What are we doing here? You didn't even hear the Spurs fans see the replay and go, oh, bullshit. It was just dead silence. Wow, a lot of comments. All right, at least I woke you guys up. NBA double AVT says the NBA media has this strange feedback loop with NBA Twitter discourse. It's disgusting. No. They have a strange feedback loop with NBA Twitter discourse because those topics that I bet if I searched right now and go see, I bet it's the trending topics in the United States are Spurs, Wemby, Dort, McCain, Daryl Morey. Let's do a little let's do a little test. Let's do a little test. This is because I'm going to tell you why. I'm in content, so I know the answers to the question, to the test already. Here we go. Trending topics in the United States include Spurs, Trump, Wemby, McCain, trending with Caruso, Daryl Morey, America, Iran, Shai, Democrats smackdown Israel. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Well, these also count, but okay. We'll just say 3, 4, we'll call it half of the trending topics on Twitter right now are NBA affiliated. So I do this because anyone whose job is to create content for a content network, a broadcast network, a radio station, a blog, social media, they want their content to be seen because one, they're paid to get their content seen, or two, they are sole proprietors, they are independent, and their livelihood depends on people viewing, engaging, and consuming their content. So what they have to do, and again, myself included, I'm not saying I'm like above this or better than this, but I'm telling you how this shit works. They will construct, produce, and or edit their content to make sure that it fits within the trending topic algorithm so that it gets the most exposure. This is the problem with For You algorithms and not just chronological timelines like we had for a decade and a half, which is why Twitter was the greatest place ever. So when they're talking to their editors, like, what should we write on here? It's almost always going to be what everyone wants to consume and discuss and copy the link and send it out into their group chats. So that's, of course, the hot button topics are Lou Dort being dirty, Jared McCain and Daryl Morey, the trade from the 76ers to Oklahoma City, Shea's flopping, Shea's foul baiting, Shea's brilliance, Victor Wembanyama, right? You want to pull on all of those strings so that your content is being viewed by anyone who clicks each of those trending topics, whether it's Twitter, I don't know how TikTok works, Instagram, you guys, if you're in this room right now, you understand, but that is why you continue to see these topics be regurgitated because they have such a large audience. And people will continue to beat a dead horse because outside of the internet, there is always going to be an appetite for this. Like normal people that are working jobs and going out to the bars with their friends or walking through an airport, when they look to the left and they see on the televisions above the bar as they're walking to their gate, you can't really hear what's saying, but you can read the lower third graphic. And when you have someone like Jay Williams this morning on ESPN's First Take, saying Shea's flopping, I don't want to root or watch OKC anymore because the flopping has ruined the game of basketball. Someone's going to see that. They're going to use that as their talking point if their friend group or family wants to discuss the game. In the context, you see like someone is obviously at that desk for a reason because they are qualified, because they know what they're talking about. There is a validation to on-air talent at these major networks. And what that person going through the airport doesn't realize is that Jay Williams, as Oklahoma City fans pulled the receipts on earlier today, most recently was talking about why Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is so fun to watch. So you cover both sides of the argument. It's the political playbook where you come out and say, I never said that. I actually said the opposite. Here's the evidence. And then you just never, it's just this never ending cycle. So if you want to say something, like stand on your business, but I hope people are able to independently think for themselves. Because what Shai is being accused of, while it does happen, I'm not saying Shai doesn't flop. He most certainly falls over. And that stat that was going around is 100% true. He does fall over the most per shot attempt. Last time I checked, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is on the ball for like 50 possessions minimum. And all I see is a compilation of like 7 or 8. What about the other 42? I don't want to watch the trailer when I go to a movie theater. I want to see the film in its entirety. Joe says that people trying to push the Wemby hates Chet narrative is some corny ass fan fiction. Victor Wembanyama is motivated, inspired by the presence of Chet Holmgren. He wants to compete and beat his ass. But that is not hate. Hate to me is if Chet Holmgren came out and did something to harm his family. Chet Holmgren, like that's hate. I hate that guy. No, they like compete against each other. Wemby was very clear during that regular season post-game press conference. I understand it started at the under 19 teams between Team France, Team USA. Chet gets the MVP. USA wins. Wemby's over there ripping his jersey and he's all sorts of tilted. That is not hate. That is motivation. They're never going to sit down together, hold hands, and sing Kumbaya. And quite honestly, if they did, you all would hate it. Be like, what happened to the league, to the game I love? What happened to rivalries? This isn't fun when everyone's friends. You would flip in a heartbeat. MCC says, I love when WAP goes off on all these made-up stats. The stats are factually correct. But if I told you Jared McCain went 2 of 10 from beyond the three-point arc tonight, and you didn't watch a second of basketball, your response obviously would be, oh, that sucks. Why did he play so poorly? The same with analytics. They are useful in balance. Anything in life requires balance. You drink too much water, you die. You inhale too much oxygen without a nitrogen complement to it, you die. So, like, you put a stat out there, you write a whole thesis about it, you get millions of views. Your editors, I've been in these newsrooms. Your editor is thrilled because the editor's job is to create content. Have your writers create content that is seen by the most amount of people, resonate with the people, and drive relevance for your platform. I'm not going to name the name of the boss or the place I worked, but I once, back in the blog era, when we were writing articles instead of like filming videos, before the pivot to video, one of our managers or editors put a screen in the writer's bullpen where all of us were like working and collaborating. You know, it should be like a community. The best newsrooms are communities where everyone is helping each other out, uplifting. No, there was a scoreboard put up in the middle of the writer's room. Scoreboard that showed who got the most views that day, who drove the most traffic to the website, essentially creating a competition and having everyone cannibalize each other's work. All that this person mattered, and honestly, still to this day, this dude, all he cares about is cooking the books. Ratings, clicks, engagement at any cost. Because that's ultimately what the very tippy top bosses that can promote you, pay you, that's all they care about is the stock price. And then it's a trickle down effect to all the little lieutenants and executives. Moving on. You guys think you can get to me? Like Soto's jockstrap. Nice fucking screen name, by the way. How much is SGA paying you? Are you on the Thunder payroll? You may get, Antonio got mad today because everyone's in his mentions. If he says something negative against San Antonio, you're a traitor, you live here, you won a championship with us. If he says something not even negative, if he tries to justify the other side. Oklahoma City, where he worked during the Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook era, like, oh, you were one of us, you're not one of us anymore. And it makes him angry because he's not made him angry on today's show because he's not online. He hasn't been in these trenches. You will never tilt me by saying, are you on the Thunder payroll? I don't give a fuck. I'm watching these games. I'm a New York Knicks fan, and I can still speak about the Knicks objectively. Who's predicted the Knicks to lose to the Pacers the last 2 years? I'm the only Knicks fan out there that did that. You know how many Knicks fans came for me saying, you're not who I thought you were? I don't give a shit. I call it as I see it. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I will be the first to sit here and compliment Victor Wembanyama like after game one. Criticism, constructive criticism, is not equal to hate. That's what I think the younger generation needs to learn. Constructive criticism is not hate. Support or complimenting is not glazing. There is a middle ground there. Yeah. And oh, by the way, this series is most certainly not over. I have OKC in 7. That requires San Antonio to win 2 more games, which I think can happen. I opened up tonight's show using the argument that the longer this series goes, the closer it gets to being a war of attrition. And there is no one in basketball anywhere in the world that can compete with Oklahoma City in that regard. So if you have De'Aaron Fox re-roll that ankle, Dylan Harper comes off the bench tonight. How many minutes did he end up with? It felt like in the teens. Dylan Harper goes 17 minutes tonight. That's not enough. They're running out of bodies. That's the advantage that they had, is that they could punch Oklahoma City in the mouth early in this series and obtain the luxury of optionality in the event that this does turn into a war of attrition. You could potentially sit a Dylan Harper or a De'Aaron Fox if you had a 2-0 series lead instead of 1-1. Well, they had to play tonight. De'Aaron Fox re-injured his ankle, and who knows what's up with Dylan Harper, but he only played 17 minutes off the bench. They don't have enough with Carter Bryant, Keldon Johnson, Harrison Barnes played 4 minutes. And then we ultimately get here to Luke Cornett, who finishes minus 18 tonight in 12 minutes played. So he goes minus 9 game 1, 9 minutes, minus 10 game 2, 10 minutes, minus 18 tonight in 12 and a half minutes. We are approaching Jokic. We are approaching Jokic on the Denver Nuggets last year territory with the San Antonio Spurs when Victor Wembanyama comes off the floor. On, off, VORP, all the above. Nikola Jokic was leading the league in biggest differentials, biggest VORP forever. That's value over replacement player. Those Luke Cornett minutes are to the point that he's unplayable. He's getting played out of this series the same way that Rudy Gobert was played off of the floor in the San Antonio series. I mean, Cornett steps onto the floor for San Antonio, and it's just not if, but when Oklahoma City goes on an instant 8-0 run. Mitch Johnson has to call a timeout, and their lead just evaporates. And they run into the same problems. Like Jokic tries to catch 90 seconds to 2 minutes of a breather. They used to put in Russell Westbrook off the bench. You do the sign of the cross and pray you come out of this net zero. He's unplayable. He's not a bad player, but he's unplayable in this series because he cannot keep up with these OKC hyenas on the perimeter as they go 5 out, 0 in. You got Jay Will as a big man that can stretch the floor 30 feet as the quickest trigger in the business. Luke Cornett cannot close out. He cannot recover. He can't defend the rim like Victor Wembanyama. And that entire San Antonio defense is designed for being aggressive on the perimeter, jumping passing lanes, going for steals, getting handsy, getting physical, because they know if somehow we get beat off the dribble and there's dribble penetration, we never have to send help. Victor Wembanyama is always lurking and will deter that dribble penetrator, and we will simply recover to other assignments because we can switch positions 1 through 4 out here when it's Fox, Harper, Vassell, Johnson, Steph Castle, Champagny. They all can switch interchangeably. When Wembanyama comes off the floor, it changes the entire dynamic of what makes that Spurs defense so brilliant. And now that they're starting to lose bodies and we go into options 9, 10, 11, and 12, that's a starting team from Oklahoma City that could probably make the play-in tournament in the Eastern Conference. Meanwhile, you're sending out, Mason Plumlee and Bismack Biyombo with Jordan McLaughlin? We're starting to get to the championship rounds, and you better believe that these jabs on the liver are going to add up as we get to 6 and 7. This is what OKC does. They won 2 Game 7s last year, both wars of attrition. Can you imagine if Indiana had an opportunity to close in Game 6 instead of Game 7 with Halliburton on that hobbled leg and calf? They needed the extra game because they're down. They need the extra game. He ends up getting hurt. Aaron Gordon ends up getting hurt for Denver, and they don't have enough bodies to make it through round 12. It's going to happen again, the way that these Spurs are starting to drop, despite putting out the youngest, not one of, the youngest starting lineup in conference finals history. OKC, easy past 1050. Says OKC is the deepest team in league history. Not even close. Their third unit of Topic, Wiggins, Kenrich Williams. Jay Will technically qualifies if you have Hartenstein as the backup center. I know they went jumbo tonight. Oh, how about that, by the way? We come out of the timeout and both teams make substitutions to go with double bigs. We saw the French vanilla lineup for San Antonio, as well as Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. But then Jay Will is technically your third stringer. So you have Kenrich Williams, Jay Will, Topic, Aaron Wiggins, and just that team could start. YOOKC says, stop blaming it on injuries, bro. Come on now. I'm not blaming anything on injuries. This is the luxury that Oklahoma City has that no other team, I guess the Knicks could technically go 11 or 12 deep, but they can't go 15 deep. Their roster has 15 playable guys on it. The longer a series goes, the more attrition required. And this is how they won series last year, and it's how they can win this one against San Antonio. Turn it into a siege. How many months' supply do they have behind those walls before things get desperate? We will simply park our troops outside of the gates and wait you out. All right, I'm going to catch up on some chats here. You guys have been active here in the YouTube chat. Appreciate you guys. What are you up to this Memorial Day weekend? Someone in the YouTube chat, Cole Christensen, says, Jay Will 5 of 6 from 3 is truly unbelievable. What? No, it's not. That guy is an elite three-point shooter. No dip threes. I would bet almost every single one of those 6 were no dip threes. Just flicks, flicks, flicks. Good luck closing out on that. He doesn't even jump. So he can pump fake you without, he'll wait to see if you're going to recklessly close out and then decide if I'm going to get this thing up or not. I'm not suspended midair. Chat's thinking I'm rooting for OKC. No, I'm not. If you want to turn me into a fan, I'm rooting for San Antonio every day ending in Y. The Knicks can't beat the Thunder. We'll get one game against OKC. All they have done is taken those hyenas on the perimeter, sent them on Jalen Brunson. You don't have to send a second body. They denied Karl Anthony Towns all the entry passes. He got up 0 threes in multiple games against them the past couple of years. They are the worst matchup for us. And yeah, I'm rooting for OKC. Get the fuck out of here. Fucking chat. Have I ever scrolled on TikTok with a burner or something? The only time I've ever used TikTok is when I click a link from like a Twitter or something and it sends you to the website to see the video. But no, I've never had the app. Because you can do that. You can like watch a TikTok on a browser. That's all I've ever needed. Twitter is TikTok now. So it's like I don't need the Zoomer version. Hold on, catching up on chats, more chats. Daddy-O says, I don't think Wemby hates Chet. I think Wemby wants to dominate Chet. Preach on that. Big difference. Carly says, I don't watch a trailer when I go to a movie. I don't want to watch a trailer when I go to a movie theater. I want to watch the whole movie. That's a lie you've never. I used to go to movies. Now I just stream them illegally. Why would I ever pay for content when it's available for free? It's always the funniest tweets to read. Like, it's so hard to watch the game. No, it's not. Just look harder. There's a website that produces all of this content in 1080p. All you got to do is just X out of a couple ads. Sacking Sun Top says, I hate how people focus on the negative narratives instead of peak basketball we are witnessing. I swear basketball is the only sport that people actively hate on. That's not true. Come on. Come on. No, football fans are not holding hands and singing Kumbaya. Fucking Handle says, why did they do a double big with Luke and Wemby tonight? They only ran that. It was the beginning of the fourth for a couple of minutes. Luke Cornett had a stint where he only came on the floor for 45 seconds. But yeah, you knew they were going to micromanage physicality a little bit more tonight, considering how Isaiah Hartenstein was getting away with fouls against Victor Wembanyama in game 2. But that's a Tony Brothers thing. These players know the tendencies of the referees. We spoke about this in our previous show. They know the tendencies of the referees. And when it's a Tony Brothers game, RJ Barrett told me, he goes, if it's a Tony Brothers game, we all know we can get away with a lot more. KB Sooner says this game started out 15-0. OKC is unflappable. Preach, man. They've had to face multiple game sevens. The pressure. Game 7 at home is not really an advantage. It's more anxiety inducing. What form of basketball adversity have they not seen? You can say the same about the Knicks, but OKC's won a championship. Did they show Antonio in the NBC feed? No, they showed Bruce Bowen on the in-arena feed on League Pass, but NBC did not do the whole, we're going to show all the Spurs stars. I assume, Ivan, you listened. We did a interview with Mike Tirico, and I'm not mad at NBC anymore because they left Antonio out of the recognizing all the Spurs greats. Mike Tirico was very, of course, it's not that serious, but he was very apologetic, and he's a good dude. So when he was actually taken aback by that, I'm like, it's a thank you. We're all good. But no, they didn't do that tonight. But Antonio was there. Easy Pass says, I'm happy for you that the Knicks are finally great, but I miss you being able to say one new great hair per day from watching them. To say one new great hair per day from watching them. That makes no sense. I think you're trying to say growing a new gray hair. A whole lot of K says, I cannot stand watching the Thunder play. Whatever they got going on is not basketball. He must have just joined. Where has Helwick been? We should be commiserating these Spurs games with him in some niche stats. That would be nice. He might be working them. He gets credentialed now. Chase Brewer asks, what do I think about Chuck's comments about inside the NBA being for entertainment? And people don't want to hear him talking X's and O's for hours. I would agree that people tune into Inside the NBA to watch the boys banter and have a good time. But now the problem is the show is like 27 minutes long, and it's just a watered down version of the show that used to be great. I feel like watching The Walking Dead. How many people stopped watching after what's his face got hit with the bat? Glenn. They lost like half their viewership, and they still went on for 7 seasons after that. That's where we're at with Inside the NBA. But they do X's and O's in halftime with Kenny's Pictures. They've always balanced talking basketball and then turning it into like a little skit. It's a variety show that talks about basketball. And I'm sorry, as much as these X's and O's people and like, there's a Twitter faction of basketball content creators who are just like obsessed with X's and O's and talking about how much better OKC is at setting up double drag off of pin down screens, and how the Knicks run this flex cut motion, and they set up Jalen Brunson off of these Iverson cuts, and then you start drawing around the board. There's just not mainstream appeal for that. There's not a mainstream audience the same way that there is for football. And some people can actually make it really cool and fun and interesting, but it's going to be an incredibly difficult process of getting normal people to learn the game of basketball and speak about it in that way, and then seek out the content. So you will never see a television show just dedicated to someone pulling out a whiteboard and drawing up plays. That would be the lowest rated television show of all time. The truth is that content can exist. There are jobs available. There's smart people that can make a living off of it. But no, there will never be a mainstream show that follows the NBA finals where it's just 4 dudes sitting, typing on a computer, showing you plays. That's just not the way the business works. So it's a very loud part of NBA Twitter, and they think they're a lot more important than I think they actually are, because they have this bravado about them that we are the standard bearers of the way that the game is meant to be discussed, and it's not just talking heads. And unfortunately, that's just not the truth. I wouldn't even consider myself to be on one side or the other, but I know the business, and the type of content that they are looking to create is not something that you can sell nationally, internationally. It is a niche product. Tested it. They have some of the best X's and O's guys on NBA TV and the NBA app all the time. If you like that shit, nobody does it better. They have selected some of the best individuals at it. But that is why inside the NBA is so popular, is because they have built community and chemistry for 20 plus years. They have accolades and experience. And I would say for a majority of the inside the NBA years, they were watching games. They were able to speak on it with a little dabble of X's and O's and bringing in former events that occurred that they could relate to current day. It all kind of worked. We're back to that whole balance conversation here. That show was perfectly balanced. Little X's and O's, a little jokes, a little basketball, a little serious, a little interview, a little skit, a little, promotion. Perfectly balanced show for the longest time. That's all I got to say about that. Oh, Hellwick's at a Pitbull concert. What? Hellwick likes Pitbull? Enough to go to is it a free Pitbull concert or do you pay to see Pitbull? That's correct. People love X's and O's for football despite not understanding it, but like that same shit for basketball. It's so weird. Well, you can attribute a lot of that to Madden, the video game. Everyone knows what an HP blast is. Everyone knows what a goal line formation is. NFL blitz, right? There's plays in there, the sub-zeros and the God, what was some of those? Sub-zero. What was the bomb? Everyone knows what a post route is because of the bomb, or a go route from the bomb. There's generations of people that grew up understanding X's and O's in football. Like, what a hook route is, or a sluggo, or a slant, or a pitch. You know what a 4-3 formation is because you had to toggle in Madden all the time. So it's so much more relatable. You didn't have to do that in basketball games where you pull a screen up, you pull a menu up of plays like, ooh, are we going to run the flex here? Are we going to run 1-4 flat? No, you just kind of like hit the down button. You call for a screen, and then all the players are kind of NPCing their way around. I'd be surprised how much he loves Pitbull that much. Wow, that actually makes a lot of sense. Helwig choosing Pitbull over Spurs playoff. He was definitely watching the game while at the concert. I should see the I've never played a single NBA 2K game in my life. I still use PS2, so I'm on NBA Street. That's what I play. I haven't upgraded. Right? Fucking Handle says, for the longest time, I thought basketball was all improv. You're not the only one. Wolfpack says in the YouTube chat, I decided years ago not to be rage baited by illogical, emotional casuals. Well said. Did the Cavs win a game? It's got to be tomorrow. Yeah, I think they could win tomorrow. I think they could win tomorrow because Sam Merrill was 0 of 7 from 3. Jalen Tyson 0 of 3. Dean Wade was like 1 of 3. Role players play better at home. The Cavs have shot the ball well at home. They'll have energy in the building. They're used to being down 0-2. I think they can. I had the Knicks in 5, so I will give them game 3. Yes. And that'll be the one big James Harden game. Watch game 3, and then they'll just get dusted in games 4 and 5. But he'll have that one big game. And for 24 hours, all of his fans are going to be like, see, all of his apologist fans were like, oh, see, he's actually good. You will never see heaven. Even NFL Street makes you pick plays, right? Not NBA Street. That's the answer, right? That kids get used to understanding the names of plays because they have to choose them from the menu before the game continues. NBA, it's free flowing action. Chase Brewer, you must watch or listen to the radio show. Boots Riley. I love boosters. I've been making it more and more ridiculous when I do that ad read. Sep says, Rob, you're the reason I don't lose all faith in NBA Twitter. At least you're reasonable. Yeah. Well, if you only follow me on Twitter, I spend half the time trolling and baiting. So my idea for doing that is I really want to siphon out the chronically online users to get them to either unfollow me, stop engaging, get sick of me, and move on to like somewhere else. And everyone that's left over that gets the show over these last 16 years understands at this point, you can pick up on when I'm being serious and when I'm being not. But I'm not just going to create content to like fit into the algorithm or to pander. It's very easy to tell when I'm rage baiting. You think I put those pictures of my shoes up like by accident? Come on. Now, if you don't like the humor, that's another thing. I'm not Dave Chappelle over here. Even Dave Chappelle has haters. Even the Pope has haters. Michael Jackson had a lot of haters. Got to have haters, otherwise you're not relevant. You are if you have only supporters, that's a community. That's not a network. Network requires hate views as well. The problem is the locusts know the show too well. Well, chat's awfully quiet tonight, as I anticipated. Everyone, maybe it's my own fault for not going live after game one, but everyone loves a overreaction. Game one, you've been waiting for the series to start. It's one of the best games ever. Victor Wembanyama hits that shot, and it was a well-earned victory in a lot of ways. But last time I checked, this is not March Madness. It's the NBA playoffs. It's 4 out of 7. And to beat Oklahoma City 4 out of 7 times, I think San Antonio is going to beat them 3 out of 7 times. I would prefer them to win 4 out of 7 because the Knicks might have a chance at winning a title in my lifetime. And I told Antonio today, especially if it's San Antonio versus New York, that if the Knicks make the finals, I will be going to the games. If the Knicks have 3 wins in the series, I will go to every single game until the series is completed. So I'm only going if the Knicks have an opportunity to close out. And that's because I was alive for 1994. I will not feel any sort of way until they have 3 wins in the finals. And against Oklahoma City, I'm telling you, the Knicks will get 1 game, the same way the Knicks in 99. Like the Knicks will get 1 game against OKC, maybe game 3. Mitchell Robinson puts in work against Victor Wembanyama, but the problem is Mitchell Robinson plays between 15 and 20 minutes. What are you doing with the other 30? Or what are you doing with the other 18 minutes? Right. But this is why everyone is thinking that Oklahoma City could be trading for Giannis Antetokounmpo, because there's only one guy on the planet that can play as many minutes as Wemby and guard him without help, and that's Giannis. And if you were to put him on Oklahoma City, it's just game over for the next half decade. He's the only Wemby neutralizer out there. And they have the package. They could trade Chet. They could trade J-Dub. They could trade 1,000 picks. They could trade anything to make a package better than any other offer. But if they win another title, would they break up Chet and J-Dub? And probably not. Sam Presti's going to have to make a decision. How would that look if they win back-to-back titles and you trade Chet and another guy from that core after winning back-to-back titles? That might fuck with the chemistry. Tough spot. But Giannis has put in work on Wemby more times than I can count. He's by far the single best defender in the world against him. Art Tomato says, Wob, do I think it's okay for J.R. Smith to celebrate with Knicks fans against the team he won the title with? Yeah, he's from New Jersey. And he's a former Knick. Yeah, J.R. Smith's played for like 10 teams. He doesn't have loyalty to one franchise. Wild how Mitchell Robinson can miss every free throw, but in the offseason, bro is making threes off the dribble like KD. Yeah, that's NBA players for you. Remember what Brian Scalabrine did to those former college players when they called him out? Scalabrine was well retired and just made a mockery of them. Like, these NBA players are ridiculous. McCain's making a name for himself too. It's going to be tricky. No, you know what? Before we go, let's pull up Oklahoma City's books. Oklahoma City salaries. Because I'm pretty good at I forgot to type in Thunder, so they're showing me government employees. Okay. All right. Hartenstein, Lou Dort, headed for team options, 28. I think Hartenstein might get picked up. Lou Dort is likely out. Caruso on the books. Holmgren, rookie, max scale extension, goes to 41.2 mil. Isaiah Joe on the books. Aaron Wiggins still on that. Oh my God, they've got Wiggins on a descending deal. Jay Will, descending deal. God, Presti, how the fuck do you do it? Kenrich Williams on a $7.1 million team option. J-Dub goes from 6.5 to 41.25. Kaysen Wallace still on the rookie deal. Nikola Topic, Sorber, and McCain all on their rookie deals. God damn this team, man. Perfect situation. AJ Mitchell making 16th highest paid player on the team. $3 million and it goes down. You fucking kidding me? They're paying for Mason Plumlee to be on the Spurs. That's interesting. But yeah, like Jared McCain. So the extension won't kick in until 2028. And then he's going to be under contract probably for another 4 years after that. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. At least 4 years guaranteed, Jared McCain. Is there just a more perfect roster? But yeah, Lou Dort's gone. Unless he decides to sign for a lot less money, which is just not going to happen. Every guy on this team is perfectly paid. And then you have Chet Holmgren's salary, you have J-Dub's salary to match Giannis's or get close. They would probably have to trade like Chet and they would trade Chet, Topic, and like Kaysen, I would think. If Milwaukee was rebuilding, that's what they would want. Because those are guys on rookie deals. Yeah, it would be Chet, who's locked up, Kaysen, and Topic, and then picks. Those contracts have so much value because if they end up working out, you'll have those guys for 6 to 7 years. Oh, and yeah, they'll just end up saying, you take these 3 guys, and here's 4 first-round picks because we have another 30 to choose from. You want the number 11 pick in this incredibly stacked draft? Go ahead. We don't even have the space or the time for them. They are just in the most ridiculous of spots, man. This team is perfect. Their books are perfect. Shea makes $40 million next year before the extension kicks in. He's not even the highest paid player on the team next year. It's fucking ridiculous, man. Right. So for Giannis, they have to get to 57 million, and the Thunder can't aggregate salaries. They'd have to get a third team involved. Well, that's part of the reason why they'll start by letting go Lou Dort and potentially Hartenstein to make up that room so they get out of the aprons. Spencer Hubbard in the chat is asking, what's up with Wemby? Exhaustion from the physical Wolves series plus game 1 double OT minutes. Yeah, I mean, he's having to play 40 plus minutes anytime that he comes off the floor. The OKC Thunder going a 10-0 run. So Mitch Johnson calls a timeout, buys him an extra 90 seconds. You're going back in, bro. And those minutes are only going up as the series progresses. So yeah, a lot of what he does well is going to be put to the test. Can he continue to do it as the diminishing returns with an increased minutes load is presented? Mr. Matt Devo says, Knicks are winning the finals. Fuck it. Go New York. What are you guys doing this weekend? Do you have any plans? You sticking around and watching hoops? Are you out watching hoops? This is quite the travel weekend here in the United States. Andrew in the chat says it doesn't seem like Presti's MO to trade for Giannis. He would probably rather try to do it with rookie contracts. Now, you have to match. You have to match money in the NBA. You have to match salaries. And if you're in the apron, you can't aggregate contracts, as Jish in our Twitter chat just astutely noted. So it would have to be Chet or J-Dub as the core of the package. Then you would need another guy and then a shit ton of picks. Studying for the CPA, watching hoops, and eating wings. That's the good life. Stay away from those Memorial Day bars. Everything's overpriced. Travel's expensive. Traffic everywhere. Wemby's an international player. He should be used to the physical contact. Yeah, I'm sure he is. Yeah. No one's denying that. But we're talking about a historically great defense here. You see what it took for them to win the first game? Like, he had to put up 42 and 14. It's just, you got to do that 4 out of 7 times. It seems unrealistic even for Wemby. But that's why some guys are all-time greats like Shaq, Hakeem, Kareem, some big guys that were able to give you the 40 and 14 multiple times per series, per playoffs, multiple series per playoffs. Shams Jam says, Wob, I don't think Giannis makes OKC better. It will take away from their flow and natural style of play. Giannis's floor spacing with Shea will bury them. I think that's what you said. You bring up good points that, of course, the offensive side of the floor will be changed when Giannis is out there. But if Victor Wembanyama is about to be the unanimous best basketball player on the planet and just cannot be stopped with anyone on this team, you have to continue to create coverages to try and deny him the basketball or force him into a just missing jumpers kind of night. That doesn't seem very sustainable with the path that he's on down the road. So the remedy to that would be to go get Giannis and just make sure you always have an insurance policy against him and his evolution, because OKC may be winning titles right now. That's why I said it's going to be a tough spot. Do you mess with the chemistry of winning back-to-back titles? Why would you mess with the chemistry? You don't. Status quo. But it's Sam Presti. You kind of have to just give him the benefit of the doubt that he knows what to do. A team has already given them Jared McCain for practically free. Why not Giannis at this point? All right, friends. Hour and 16 minutes into tonight's show, 9:43 p.m. Pacific. We've had a couple of police chases today, but they ended before the news choppers could get there. So maybe we'll get one before we go to bed. Knicks game on tomorrow. I'll be live if there's something to go live about, but if there's not, then it will just be the standard thoughts video after the game. And then I'll probably be back for game 4 of this series on Sunday. But I am willing to go live tomorrow if something crazy happens. Bob Tweet says, is there a way to watch this recording? Yes. All you have to do is click the screen and move the little circle to the very beginning if you want to watch from the start, or it will be available for replay once I end the stream. Or you go on to Prophet X's YouTube, that as well. On that note, I think I'm going to go have an adult beverage. Gallinari. 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 Capote Italia. See you guys.